Alright, in this video, hopefully we'll be able to see what we need to see. I'm using a different program because of some technical issues, but what you see before you should be quite similar to what you'll see as you log into Canvas for this online course. You've got my email address there. That's a fantastic way to get a hold of me. My phone number. And as you go through the course, from this home page, just click on Modules. And what you should see are a set of modules broken up by week. So you've got week 1, which includes an introductory video, and your syllabus. You've already watched the video. Let's look together at this syllabus. So you see there our first day of class, January 17th, last day of class, the week of May 8th, course description. Here's my office on the Corinth campus. If you have any issues that I can't resolve, feel free to contact Crystal Wright. She's the chair of my department, either at her office, at her phone number, or at her email. But if you have an issue, please do talk to me first. She's got a lot on her plate. We're going to treat the textbook as recommended, but not especially required. The reason for that is all of the readings that you would be able to find in the textbook are available for free online, and I've provided access to those for you, which you'll see as we go further. So the textbook is there if you especially want it. This course has a high workload because I won't be able to see you face to face. So you've got a number of journal submissions, which I'll show you, worth 25% of the course grade. Quizzes, there are a bunch of them, 25% of the course grade. Tests, which will be taken online, 15% of the course grade. Graded discussions, dropping 1, quite a few of them, 15% of the course grade. And a term paper. And we'll talk in detail about the term paper today. Last day to withdraw, April 6th, 2017. Here's our schedule for the first 4 weeks. Pay close attention to that. I'll update it as we go. Especially for scholastic integrity, don't plagiarize. Most of your assignments where you are writing things will be uploaded through turnitin.com automatically, and so if you copy and paste material that's not yours without accurate citation, you can fail an assignment or you can fail the course. That's what the student handbook says about that. So don't cheat, don't plagiarize, don't do copyright infringement. If you need accommodations of any sort, contact me at my email address as soon as possible to set that up. And I do work with the Office of Student Disability Services. You just have to give me information about that. Alright, and that's it. You can click through these, what are called modules, either by clicking Next, 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 or by clicking the Modules tab. You're watching this video right now. Let's look together at the term paper instructions. I see that it went to the wrong one. So we'll just click Previous. Here we go. You will be working all semester on a term paper, and the prompt for the term paper is, I think blank can be better. And you'll fill in that blank with one of a number of suggested essay topics. Perhaps at the most broad, you think society can be better. Perhaps it's intercultural communication or multiculturalism that you think can be better. I'll come back at the end and explain pluralism versus monoculturalism. Perhaps specifically you want to focus on government or politics. This should say Republicans. Our relationship with the environment, which is not an easy one. Problems of sexism, racism, gun violence, abortion, justice, economics, immigration, cultural responses to science, interreligious violence, cultural responses to homosexuality or LGBTQ issues. For some of these topics, for example, racism or sexism, you wouldn't want to simplistically title your paper, I think sexism can be better. That makes it sound like we could have a more sexist society. Or, I think racism could be better. Again, it makes it sound like we could be more racist. Instead, you might modify the prompt to say something like, I think problems of racism could be reduced or eliminated, and that would be better. Or the same thing with gun violence or sexism or abortion. The purpose of this term paper is to see both sides of an issue. Not necessarily to argue that one side is right and the other side is wrong. Instead, to think through how two sides can come together to form a cooperative solution. This is what's called constructive dialogue for better intercultural communication. How can we take a contentious issue like racism, sexism, politics, gun violence, abortion, creationism versus evolution, or homosexuality, and how can we have improved intercultural communication? You can define a culture quite narrowly for the purpose of this paper. Republicans are generally referred to or labeled as conservatives, and they have a conservative culture. Democrats are usually labeled as liberal, and so we could say they have a liberal culture. There's a Christian culture that has a point of view on abortion, and there's perhaps a secular culture that has a different point of view on abortion. There's an American justice culture. There is the culture of our justice system. There's the culture of American police. There's the culture of various groups of American citizens. all of which affect how we dialogue or discuss and talk about between our cultures various issues. So perhaps the intercultural communication you're interested in resolving is between police and Black Lives Matter protesters. Those are two different cultural groups with lots of room for improved, constructive dialogue. No matter which topic you write on, there are two things I am insisting upon. Number one, that your paper must be about, regardless of topic, improving intercultural communication. If it's not about that, it's not on topic. Number two, your paper must both use philosophical vocabulary. For example, we'll be discussing the 5 branches of philosophy. It's very easy to use language like metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, or politics on lots of these issues. But I'd also like you to reference at least one philosophical text, either one that we've read and worked on together this semester, or another one you've found. Lastly, for the purposes of this paper, you're not just arguing one side is right and the other side is wrong. Which doesn't mean that a perfect middle ground compromise is always the right answer either. Instead, I want you to write a persuasive paper that's backed up by good and credible research, scholarly research, not BuzzFeed or anything that starts with a title like 10 Reasons Why Blank. Just avoid that altogether. Use scholarly sources. Your paper should be a persuasive paper backed up by research, arguing for how the intercultural communication can be improved. How can gun rights people have constructive dialogue from people with a culture that's more interested in gun control? So, you don't want to write a paper that says something like, abortion is murder, here's why. Because that's only seeing one side of the argument. What you need to do is step into the other side's shoes. Understand where that opposite cultural point of view is coming from. And then address the issue across cultural divides. Good luck. It's hard, but I'll be working with you. Pluralism refers to a society in which there are a variety of cultures present. It's synonymous, or means the same thing, as a multicultural society, or a multiculturally diverse society. A pluralistic culture, or a culture with pluralism, is one supposedly much like the United States of America, where Buddhists and Hindus and Jews and Christians and Muslims and non-believers can all live side by side without problem. A monocultural society is the opposite. It's where everybody has to be one way. Much of Europe during the Holy Roman Empire's reign we could consider monocultural. Or the society and culture of Saudi Arabia, for example, is significantly monocultural. There are strong pressures for people to the largest extent possible, all be one way. Or North Korea is incredibly monocultural. everybody has to worship the dear leader. Or if they don't, face prison time or death. This topic is a challenging one because it asks, how can we improve our society by adopting a more pluralistic or monocultural cultural standpoint? And it's not as easy as our society is good because it has cultural diversity. For example, we could ask whether a society that insists that homosexuals have all the full rights and privileges that straight people have is monocultural. To put that in other words, if our society insists that everyone, regardless of their cultural background, has to be willing and has to accept that gay people have rights, is that a pluralistic society or a monocultural society? And which would be better? How do we deal with hate speech, neo-Nazis, racism? Is it monocultural if nobody is allowed to be racist? Or is it pluralistic if there are people who are anti-Semites or stereotyped and prejudiced against Jews? Is that diversity we want to allow? Or is that diversity should be prohibited? Those are incredibly challenging political and ethical discussions about free speech, for example, and diversity of opinion. If you want to dig into those concepts, there's a lot of interest and fun to be found there. If you do either cultural responses to science or our relationship with the environment, you not only have to deal with philosophical vocabulary and at least one philosophical text, either that we've discussed or that you've found, but also the cultural issues and how the different cultures that are in play would benefit by constructive intercultural communication. For example, can conservative cultures benefit from dialogue with liberal cultures on the topic of science, or vice versa? With our relationship with the environment, do not, please, write, "I think the planet would be better if people recycled more." That is not sufficient. You will not pass. What you need to deal with are the cultural influences that make us less likely to recycle. And that's only one half of the paper. That's dealing with our culture. But then what makes the topic intercultural? Should we learn from Native American or indigenous Aboriginal cultures about environmental sustainability? Is that realistic or possible? Or is there a way that either capitalism or socialism is either negatively affecting the environment or could positively affect the environment? And how does intercultural communication affect capitalism's often bad consequences for the environment? Let me put that another way. If you write on our relationship with the environment, and you're focusing on criticizing global capitalism, you still have to write about what the culture of capitalism can dialogue with. Is it socialism, which is more sustainable and capitalism can and should learn from? Or is it native cultures, perhaps? It's a very difficult topic. but that's why we're going to work all semester on it, and that's why you'll have my input and my help in order to make sure you're on the right track. The rubric that I'll grade you on is as you see here. I encourage you to look through it, and as you're writing your rough draft and your final draft, make sure that you have fulfilled every single portion of this rubric. If you can't find specifically and explicitly which sections fulfill which parts of the rubric, very likely I can't find them either. Use credible sources. If you don't, it will be at your own peril. Identify biases and overcome them to the best of your ability. Identify multiple examples of intercultural issues. Demonstrate knowledge of civic responsibility. Discuss ethical decision-making dilemmas, connecting actions to consequences, and fully identify the various personal values. For every single one of these things you don't do, I mark points off for. So, if you need to, spend time at the writing lab to help you. Evaluate priorities of judgment. And I've listed some do's and don'ts. I'll let you look through that on your own time. On NCTC's website, if you click Library, and then go down and click Research Databases. There are all sorts of useful databases for you. This is Academic Search Complete, which is a little bit, there we go. Humanities Full Text, JSTOR, Religion and Philosophy. Oh, and it should just take you right in. I don't know why it's not. Let's try a different one. Well, hopefully you should be able to access these, and let me know if you're not able to. Because these provide a wealth of resources about of articles, essays, books, and things that will be useful for your research. And mine's acting weird. That's all right. I also recommend scholar.google.com. And I suggest typing in, let's see if you were doing on abortion. Something like this. All sorts of fantastic resources. Or something like this. The sorts of things that will be helpful to you. hopefully that gives you an idea of how to use Google Scholar. Let me know if you need more help. I have information on how to cite sources. You can use either APA style, MLA style, or Chicago Manual of Style, whatever you're most comfortable with. Either way you do it, you just have to do it correctly. So here's Chicago Manual of Style, here's APA Manual of Style, and here's MLA style. So you can go to those websites and use the writing lab. If you are not completely confident in your scholarly writing abilities, use the writing lab. I'm going to go back to modules. So you see week 1, part 1. After you've gone through these, you'll take this quiz. I haven't filled it out yet, but I will once I'm done with this video. And then you've got a graded discussion. Oh, and I'm in the student view. So, here in a minute, I'll take you out of the student view and I'll show you how to look at the grading rubric for the discussion posts. Notice that this has a due date down here, January 22nd. January 22nd, that's the Sunday at midnight of the first week. And then you've got a video. You'll watch the video, and in some of the videos I've put some extra information that might have gotten skipped over in the video, or I want you to especially emphasize and focus on down at the bottom. So pay special attention to that. And then you'll take the quiz. You see the due dates there. After the due date has passed, no second chances. And I'm giving you 2 attempts for each of the quizzes. So if you don't get the right answers the first time, feel free to go back and get the right answers. That only helps you. And then for the week after the due date of each quiz, for 1 week, the right answers to the quizzes will be available for you to access. Go in there. Find the right answers, because the tests, which you'll only have 1 allowed attempt on, will be based on the quizzes. So make sure that you've gone back after the quiz's due date is over for that week, and make sure you've got the right answers to study for the tests. So once you've done week 1, part 1, week 1, part 2, and done both the graded discussion, quiz 1 and quiz 2, you're done for that week. And the next week, you've got a series of videos to watch, a quiz over those videos, week 2, part 2, a video to watch, quiz over that video, and then a discussion at the end of the week. Notice your due dates here. At the end of the second week, you'll have a term paper proposal. Let me get out of student view so that way you can see a few things. Here we go. So you'll be able to see information on the term paper proposal, links to the paper instructions. Follow those, and then there'll be a place for you to submit your term paper proposal here on Canvas online. You'll watch some videos for week 3. No part 1, part 2 to week 3. Just some videos, a quiz, and then a graded discussion about the topic of evolution in the context of metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. And you'll see instructions here. And then if you want to see the grading rubric, you should be able to click on this icon at the top right and click on Show Rubric. And you'll see how I grade you on your original post and your response posts. Last thing to talk about, you will have, starting in week number 4, a number of readings to do each week. We'll start off with the Epic of Gilgamesh, and then a reading about a variety of ancient philosophical systems. After you've clicked on these and read through them in detail, you're going to submit a journal submission. The journal submission asks you to answer any combination of questions 1 through 4, and for every single journal submission, to answer 5, 6, and 7. You can number these if you want, or you can just put it in essay format. I'm expecting your journal submissions will be between 500 and 1,500 words long each. And then you see my grading rubric down here. So pay special attention to that. And then you'll submit it through turnitin.com, which should be easy to see how to do. Contact me if you need to on the phone or by email or in my office hours if you need help figuring out how to submit these things. Pay close attention to your due dates. They'll usually be at Sunday at midnight. So February 12th, that's the end of the 4th week, Sunday at midnight. A number of video lectures to watch, a quiz, Week 4, Part 2, Code of Hammurabi and the Death Penalty, a lecture. Let's see here. We've got the video lecture, we've got the quiz, and then we've got a graded discussion, and then you'll have a test. And the test should be plenty explanatory. Make sure to do it by the due date, and you've only got one opportunity to do the test. So make sure you have a good internet connection, and make sure you're ready when you click the link, because once you start, you have to finish. So plan accordingly. I think that's it. If you have questions, let me know through email or in our introductory discussion board. I look forward to it, and good luck, everybody.